Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, May 11, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd like to see if I can get this video up to at least 120 likes. And I'd really appreciate it if you all, hit that like button. Also feel free to share this video with your friends, your relatives, your church brethren. And feel free to also ask them to subscribe to this channel, as we make daily videos about the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. Feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your area recently, and ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a blue spike line right here across the northwestern portion of this map. So we know that represents a cold front that's stretching all the way from northern section of North Atlantic all the way down into portions of the northern Bahamas and Florida into the Gulf of Mexico. And we can also see that has a trough attached to it. You can also see some broken red lines right here to the north of Puerto Rico associated with another trough. And as usual, we see the ridge of high pressure that we know is responsible for sending the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front bring some overcast skies, isolated shower and thunderstorm activity to sections of the Bahamas, sections of Florida. You can also see the clouds associated with that trough to the north of Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands. And we can also see that low level flow of clouds being pushed from east-west, all courtesy of that easterly trade wind brought about by that ridge of high pressure. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, May 11. It was stated that we would have received some amount of afternoon rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. And just for reference, we know central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, so St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James and Trelawney. And what ended up happening? A post was made in the afternoon on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica. Also, the post was made on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we make weather related posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So you can see that the visible satellite images were posted at 3:45 p.m. and they were highlighting a buildup of clouds across sections of mainly central and western parishes in Jamaica. And if you remember yesterday's video, we were highlighting the fact that more of this cloud cover would have been affecting sections of some southern areas of some northern parishes and some northern areas of some southern parishes, and that was indeed what happened. So definitely sections of northern Clarendon, southern St. Anne, southern Trelawney, northern Manchester and northern St. Elizabeth, spilling into sections of Hanover and even Westmoreland. And we even saw those sparkling yellow dots that we know indicate some amount of lightning flashes, if not lightning strikes. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down. We saw that we had all of that buildup of clouds and thunderstorm activity, especially across southern St. Anne, southwestern St. Anne, southeastern Trelawney, northern Clarendon, section of Manchester. And by the time the sun was going down and we were losing the daylight, most of those clouds dissipated. And we can see it all even better on the infrared satellite images, showing those high cold cloud tops represented by those blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds. And we can also see that they were being blown off towards the east, just like we predicted in yesterday's video. The upper level wind shear definitely pushing all of the high cold cloud tops towards the east. All of that thunderstorm activity quickly blown off. It was a brief thunderstorm activity. We even had some of that spilling into sections of eastern St. Elizabeth and section of Manchester right there. If we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we don't see anything to worry about. All of the greens and the yellows and reds that we see here is all a glitch in the system. That's all ground clutter. As relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about, let's see, 4 a.m. Let's find 4 a.m. on Sunday. Temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. As relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Sunday. When you calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we see Jamaica embedded in some orange colors. And we can see from the key on the right, the orange colors are representative of up to 3 to even 4 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, and that is quite hot, especially for May. Taking a look at the average temperatures or the normal temperatures for this time of year, we usually receive up to 89 degrees Fahrenheit during the month of May across Jamaica. And if we take a look at the thermometer, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 31 degrees Celsius. So if we're going to be receiving up to 3 to 4 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, it should be anywhere from 31 to at least 35 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. As relates to the dry air map, we know the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. The low end of the scale in terms of dry air is represented by the yellows, and we can see Jamaica for the most part embedded in some yellows and some slight oranges. We see all of the most dry air, or the driest air, right there off the east coast of the United States and of the northwestern coast of Africa, as represented by those reds and whites within those reds. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast, we're still being plagued by the Saharan dust even as we speak. We can see all the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean, even into the Gulf of Mexico right there. Definitely affecting section of the northeastern portion of South America. Jamaica right here is definitely getting in on some amount of Saharan dust activity. It's not that robust. We don't see the very dark shade of brown that we know, causes hazy skies and triggers some amount of respiratory illnesses in some people. It's definitely here, but it is not as robust. We don't even, some persons don't even notice it. We don't want to see the very hazy weather that causes, the horizon or the hills or the low-lying areas to look somewhat bleaky or whatever the case may be. Hopefully all of this dissipates. We don't like the Saharan dust at all. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we still see that we have more of those lighter shades of blues, especially on the north coast of the island, while the south coast should be getting on those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents anywhere from 0 to 0.5 meter wave heights. That's for the north coast, and the darker shades of blues anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave height on the south coast. And we can see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this, and that's because the winds are going to be strongest, especially on the south coast, where we have those brighter shades of greens that represent anywhere from 10 to even 15 knot winds. The north coast, more so some bluish greens, so anywhere from 5 to 10 knots. And we see the general direction is from the east on the north coast, kind of curving to the north on the south coast. Either way, we might still have that rainfall across inland areas of some central and western parishes during the afternoon, that daytime heating contributing to some cumulus clouds building up to the mid levels of the atmosphere, maybe even making it up to the upper levels, making it up to cumulonimbus status. Then those high cold cloud tops could still be blown off to whichever direction the wind shear is coming from. And we see from this map from the GFS, which is valid for 18Z on Sunday, that the wind shear should still be coming in from the west, kind of curving towards the east southeast in a sense. So we might see something similar to what happened today with those high cold cloud tops being blown off to the east or towards the east southeast. That's if we get on that thunderstorm activity taking place during the afternoon. Either way, both rainfall maps are showing that the only time that we're going to be receiving the blues that represent rainfall across the island for tomorrow is anywhere around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When we calculate that, that's about 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues? Across mainly sections of some central and western portions in Jamaica. We can't rule out some rainfall across sections of maybe St. Andrew, maybe sections of Kingston as well. This is from the Euro. The GFS showing something similar. So sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth, maybe even sections of southern Trelawney, southwestern St. Anne might get in on some of the activity again today. Basically something similar to what happened today. Not seeing much in the way of rainfall or crazy rainfall. It's a bit dry for the past couple of days. And if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, not seeing much in the way of rainfall, totals being picked up. Euro only showing up to 0.41 of an inch of rainfall across sections of Kingston and St. Andrew. GFS showing up to 0.16 of an inch of rainfall across sections of southern Trelawney. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Either way, we're indeed grateful that somewhere in Jamaica is going to be receiving rainfall within the next 24 hours. We usually receive up to 213 millimeters of rainfall during this month. That's almost 9 inches of rainfall, because we know 1 inch of rainfall makes up for at least 25 millimeters of rainfall. So with our secondary rainy season in full swing, we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have the clouds associated with the cold front, bring some amount of overcast skies and rainfall to sections of the northern Bahamas, sections of Florida. We also see the cloud cover associated with broad areas of low pressure, affecting sections of Costa Rica, Panama with some amount of thunderstorm activity. Not to mention sections of northern South America getting in on the action. So sections of Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana definitely getting in on some cloud cover and rainfall. Section of Puerto Rico getting in on some amount of rainfall today. Not to mention sections of the Dominican Republic associated with the trough. As it relates to the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we can definitely see that they don't have anything going on right now. But if we look back at what took place across those areas today at about 1:45 p.m., we saw that section of the Dominican Republic were getting in on some amount of rainfall. Section of northern Puerto Rico with all of that rainfall, even some yellows and some reds in there that represent some moderate heavy rainfall. Section of the British Virgin Islands got on some of the action. Not to mention sections of eastern Guadeloupe as well. Not much activity taking place across St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis or Antigua and Barbuda at all. As it relates to the Barbados radar, we don't see anything happening across Barbados right now. But if we zoom out, we might see some isolated shower activity, just some hit or miss showers right there to the north of Barbados pushing westward. Some of it to the south of Barbados, maybe making it into sections of Grenada, section of Tobago, maybe even sections of Trinidad as well. As it relates to the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see some of that rainfall right there across sections of south central Guatemala, not to mention sections of northwestern Venezuela, sections of Colombia, Suriname, and French Guiana. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Sunday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we do see the yellows and reds and oranges that represent above normal temperatures. The above normal temperature should continue to plague majority of the Caribbean. Definitely where we see those darker reds, sections of Central America, most of Venezuela, Colombia as well, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, while average temperatures should be plaguing most of Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, while below normal temperatures should be affecting sections of the central to the eastern United States. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we can see the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Definitely, the Saharan dust is affecting sections of the eastern Caribbean as we speak. Very hazy skies, some asthma. Our sinusitis is definitely being triggered in some persons, especially across the Windward and the Leeward Islands right here. Not to mention sections of the northern areas of South America. We see these darker shades of browns, and all of this is pushing westward, so it should continue to plague sections of Central America as well. As relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see a mixture of those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues that we know represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because the winds are going to be averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 to even 15 knots for the most part. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus with this because of these bluish colors and those bright greenish colors that we can see by the key in the bottom right that represents those speeds 5 to 10 to even 15 knots. And the general direction across the Eastern Caribbean from the east-southeast curving a bit northward, so coming more from a southeastern fashion into the Dominican Republic, then bending to the west to the south of Jamaica, then bending again to the north across the western Caribbean, and more of a east-southeasterly kind of flow into the Texas area across the Gulf of Mexico. As it relates to the rainfall forecast, now this is why we're here. We're trying to find out where it's going to be raining within the next 24 hours. Keep in mind that these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday, and we do see that sections of the Dominican Republic and Haiti should continue to get in on some rainfall. Puerto Rico, sections of the British Virgin Islands, not so much the US Virgin Islands, but the British Virgin Islands, sections of Guadeloupe might get in on the mix. And even if we skip southward, we can see that rainfall still to be plaguing sections of southwestern Honduras, section of southern Guatemala, El Salvador, western and even eastern Nicaragua. Costa Rica and Panama should continue to get in on that heavy rainfall. Look at all those purples right there that we know from the key on the right that represents even up to 3 to even 4 inches of rainfall. You can also see more rainfall in store for sections of Colombia, sections of western Venezuela as well. And even if we skip southward, we can see that there's definitely going to be more rainfall, even to affect sections of Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana. And the thing is, we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are in consensus with what is showing. I know that when both of them agree like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.